Because they're not the same denomination as you. But to be kind to one another. Remove all the labels, remove all the factions, remove all the organizations that you are attached to, and remember that you're human.
Roll me, Mac.
How often does your brain go autopilot? I'd say my brain goes autopilot quite often, man. If it means getting things done, like within routine. For instance, I just recently got some new ink, so I had to be without the gym for a week. You know what I'm saying? Because I got a hand tattoo, and the guy suggested that I just kind of lay off from it for a little bit, just to not put any sweat or anything in it. But during that week, and it's not the first time. Like when I had back problems the year prior, I was out of the gym for more than a week, for that matter, and my brain was like, I really didn't know what to do with myself. Honestly, because I've grown so in tune with being at the gym Monday through Thursday for now. So when I'm when I'm not doing it, it's like I have to deal with everything I haven't dealt with, I guess, mentally. Because it was like a gang of emotions that came up while, during that time I was off. And it's just wanting to just really just crawl in bed, right? And like a level of depression that is just, I don't know, it's just there. And it's just ego games. It's not real. Your thoughts, they're not real. And it's nothing becomes real until we act on it, right? It's just mere thoughts. That's really all it is. But like being in autopilot, I'm talking about whether it's cooking food, cleaning up, it's doing shows, coming up with ideas, going to work, talking on the phone, saying the very same repetition of things. For the most part, it is on autopilot. I'll say that. And even listening to, like I said, just listening to people and the things they come up with. And it's just, for the most part, brain is running on autopilot for what I find to be effective. Now, once I find something new that can be effective, then I'll add it to the routine. Especially like study habits. Like when it comes time for Monday, I know to do this particular thing because I've trained my brain to do it. You do something for 21 days, it becomes a habit. So after doing something and wanting to incorporate new shit into routine, it's become like, all right, I don't even think about it. I do it without knowing. Having those rituals and standards for yourself, and asking yourself, what type of rituals and standards do you have? Do you have the standard of somebody that's going to be effective, or do you have a standard of somebody that is just going to be counterproductive, non-productive, a vegetable, don't do anything? And I could feel myself falling back into that sense of laziness. I believe that without productivity, I become very lazy. I mean, that seems, that seems very simple, right? But in all honesty, when I'm not creating something, if I'm not meditating with a purpose, then an idle mind is the devil's playground. So I do my best to make sure that I have something to work on for myself, to better myself every day, to make sure I learn something every day. Now, granted, I wasn't able to be in the gym how I wanted, but I was still able to be productive, whether it was coming up with show material, whether it was just sitting still and then dealing with thoughts and deciding what to absorb and what to observe. And it's not easy. It's not easy facing yourself. It's easier to point, it's easier to look out the window than it is to look in the mirror a lot of times for all of us. And once you're able to have the courage to look at yourself and not anyone else, and focus on yourself. Yeah, I said it comes with challenge, man. It comes with an extreme amount of challenge to look at yourself unconditionally, to love yourself unconditionally, and just decide where you're going to go with this purpose that you've claimed to have. Sometimes you can get, like I said, you get off course. And that's where those rituals and those standards come into place. That's why it's important I believe it's why it's important for me to have those standards and rituals to keep me on a track of productivity. I know I'm on autopilot. Like if I hear a song from childhood, I can recite those lyrics like nobody's business. That's autopilot. Watching a movie that I've seen countless number of times. I don't want to watch The Lion King with anybody around me because I'm probably going to mess it up, especially if you don't like hearing people say the lines. Like I said, I know that shit like the back of my hand. Same for a lot of movies. And I do my best to remember it's not just me in here. And when you spend a lot of time by yourself, you recognize you have to learn how to be around people and how to carry yourself around people. Now, if that's the thing, if we're all doing it, we're all reciting lines, is one thing. But if everybody's trying to watch the fucking movie and you're over there running off the entire script and acting it out, doing impressions and all that stuff, it might be cool to you, but everyone might not be feeling that shit. Autopilot is how how some of us check our phones, without even wanting to, it's just a dopamine. Your brain has to get the highest form of dopamine that it can find. That's just the way that it is. Autopilot is what I definitely know the military has taught upon us about military bearing. When things go down, and when they go down, we kick into gear like what we have to do. For instance, at work, when the secondary crash phone would go off, we have to move. And people that don't work our job, when that phone goes off, they might panic, they might freeze and stuff like that. But we know where to move in a moment's notice to get to said thing, and that's autopilot. And I'll give another example of autopilot. So today I was in the yard cutting grass, and I'm in the backyard. The backyard looks like Jumanji, Fern Gully had a love child, and I'm cutting grass and I'm getting near like a little patio area that I've created for myself, and a fucking snake comes out and again, I don't fuck with snakes. That's one thing I really don't fuck with is snakes. Now it looked like it was probably about this big in size, and this, it's a little big. It's like a baby snake or whatever, if anything. But that fucker made its way into the garage, and I had to make moves. Just to say that, I had to make some motherfucking moves. So I used my leaf blower and blew his ass up out of that garage because he got trapped by like the Christmas shit that's in the garage. Hopefully, I go in there, try to build a Christmas tree come December. This nigga is like right there with me, but I was on autopilot. My desire to be protected outweighed the fear that I had in that moment. And when I tell you, I do not get down with snakes. I'm not a fan of them. That's all muscle. Like you touch a snake, like a larger snake, that is nothing but slithering muscle. And that's why they're able to wrap your ass up and turn you blue. And, so it's like, I don't really care too much for them. But in that moment, there was nothing to be afraid of. At the time, I mean, he bite my ass, but you know what I'm saying? Like the idea was worse than reality is the point I'm making. And in autopilot, I was able to defend myself because of that military bearing that we're taught. Times where I operate on autopilot is definitely when it comes to pain. When you get used to dealing with pain, your brain will go into autopilot and you go into survival mode. And you'll remember what it's like to not be safe. So when life gives you opportunities to be around safe people, you know what I'm saying? Be grateful because it may not last forever. It very well. Each time you see somebody could be the last time you're going to see them. It's something to think about for whatever reason. It was just like being grateful, man. Like if you're just around calm energy. And I just remember that nothing is mine. Honestly, I just truly do every day. I try to hold that level of gratitude and appreciation for life that nothing is mine. Now, don't get me wrong, my ego, my inner child, me and my wounded inner child can somehow get wrapped up in attachment, entitlement. I do my best to not project such, but I'm human as anybody else. But like in my mind, that'll come up, and then you have to remind yourself, man, it's not yours, and that's the beauty of it. That's what takes away a lot of pain, suffering rather, because you're trying to own something, and nothing is yours. So autopilot, dealing with said suffering when it comes to inconsistency in care, inconsistency in love and affection and all that. It's like learning to appreciate the present moment. And that's what I do my best to live on, is to appreciate the present moment, because yes, it can all be gone in a matter of seconds and moments. You just never know. It can go out of anywhere. So when you're able to be around people for whatever time that is, be grateful, man. You just don't know. You just never know, man. But autopilot, how often does your brain go into autopilot? I'd say quite often, but I attest that mainly to standards and rituals. Why do you believe people are so attached to who and what they believe in? Safety. A calm nervous system. You know what I'm saying? I really just think about this. There was a point in time where a lot of people didn't have gods, they didn't have religion or anything, and you just died. So imagine you don't know what's on the other side. Of course you'd freak the fuck out, because you have no idea. It's fear of the unknown. And a lot of us deal with that. We have no idea what's on the other side. So what would calm a nervous system? To understand that there's a sense of happiness on the other end of all of this. And faith will have it that depending on what you believe in will determine what you get, because that also goes back to we become what we think about. None of us, and only according to one man, has been able to die and then come back, and that is Jesus, if indeed you believe that he did. But for the rest of us, we have no idea what happens when we die. Not fully. We have a belief. Don't get me wrong. We have a belief, and some of us are very attached to that belief of what happens when you die, when you leave this place. But we don't have 100% proof. We can only have faith that there is, something better on the other side. And that's not to sway anybody away from belief. This is just, to me, this is the fact. The fact of the matter is that we don't know what happens on the other side. So I'd say what our social programming has done has taught us that for us to if we believe in this right here, set of rules that this religion, depending on what your religion is, will determine this idea of happiness on the other side. If we are to believe, like I say, for me growing up in a Christian home, once you pass away, if you believe in Jesus, then you go to heaven, and if you don't believe in Jesus, then you go to hell. That is what we were taught. Okay, I'm not here to dispute when it comes to your religion and what you believe in. But to answer the question, it's about feeling safe. Because imagine if you knew that you were going to die. I mean, we're all going to die. I'm just saying, let's just say you knew you were going to die. How would you operate? How would you carry yourself? Would you be calm? In most cases, most people are going to respond in fear, because you don't know what it means on the other side. You feel like you have so much time. There's many things that you want to do. But when your time comes, and we all have our time, when that's going to, when that does happen, how are you going to carry yourself? Fear the unknown. And our beliefs, a lot of times our beliefs really do keep us calm in chaos for many things. Like the teachings, I tend to study a plethora of teachings. There's things in, I want to say from a biblical standpoint, that promotes peace that I like to study. There's definitely from a Buddha standpoint where it's about peace. Taoism, there's a sense of peace in Stoicism. You know what I'm saying? I don't have a religion anymore. I don't care too much for a religion. I'm more spiritual, and being in tune with God and His universe is more so my focus in my life right now. And I believe even that it calms the nervous system to understand that everything moves as flow free in that regards. Understanding that life moves a hell of a lot smoother when you stop trying to control it. and believing that you have control over everyone. That's the thing, man. I believe that's where I know I get caught up in life, is believing that I have control. And the more you try to control, the more I try to control, the more I tend to suffer. So, but if I just accept, living by the creed of amor fati, life tends to move a lot smoother. It's just, I'm at peace a lot more when I learn to let go and not try to control the situation. So like I said, the attachment, I truly believe the attachment is more about safety of the mind, of not being anxious I'm not here to dispute what you believe in as far as your religion, what God you believe in. None of that. Whether this God is more powerful than this God, that's to me is ego. I don't think that's what they set out to do. What they set out to do is ensure that you believe, as well as, believing that there is a God, as well as being kind and remembering to be human in this earth, and not allowing, because one is of that denomination, that you treat them differently because they're not the same denomination as you, but to be kind to one another. Remove all the labels, remove all the factions, remove all the organizations that you are attached to, and remember that you're human. End of the day, regardless what race you are, regardless of what gender you are, regardless of who you believe, whatever fraternity you belong to, sorority, whatever military group you belong to, whatever job that you're in, whatever car you own, whatever house you have, remember, end of the day, you are human. Period. There's no getting around it. We can act like, all of us, myself included, we can pretend that we're more human than other people, and that's where we fuck up every time. It will all boil down to the fact that we're just human, no more, no less. And it's just, I truly just believe it's about being kind, being kind, having boundaries, number one. But I truly believe that we believe in what we believe is for a sense of safety. When it comes to like religion or believing in God, whatever it is, I believe it's to calm the nervous system, because state of being in an unknown mindset causes so much anxiety when you don't know what's on the other side. We tend to get upset when we don't have enough information. We tend to freak out when we don't have enough information. But after a series of events, and we what I'm saying, like after a while, you tend to calm the fuck down. It's like the first day of school, and you've been home with your parents all that time. That's all you knew. But when you go to kindergarten, first day of school is like, I don't know what to expect. What am I to do? I mean, I don't know if all of us remember our first day of school. I only remember because of photographic memory and pictures to help as well. But that first day of school, you have no idea who anyone is. You don't have any, most cases, you're meeting new people, making new friends. But after a while, from being there, you start to see a series of things, patterns, and your nervous system calms down. Same thing at work. Your first day at work, you're nervous because you don't know anybody. And maybe you've never done this before. But after a period of time of being at the job, your nervous system is in a different mind state. At the same time of finding that sense of peace within your nervous system, you don't want to stay in the comfort zone for too long. There's no growth in the comfort zone. So it's like remembering to challenge yourself when time permits. But that's for another topic. But I believe we truly get attached to who and what we believe in to calm our nervous system. What's the most fucked up thing a girl has ever done to you? The most fucked up thing a girl has ever done to me was when I gave her everything I had to make her happy. Self-sabotage in a way that she just tore me down to the point where she just had control over me. You know what I mean? I gave control, to her. To control me, and I would have done anything for her. I lived for her. I worshiped the ground she walked on, and she practically tore me down at a moment's notice. It didn't matter, and I just took it. So, and as far as what she did, I mean, I allowed such to happen. I take full responsibility and accountability for my part in the situation. As far as the fucked up ass part is deciding that someone who literally is just trying to learn how to love you on a day-to-day basis, every fucking day, every story you've ever shared, all the things that you've been through in your life, some tough situations that you've had to encounter, for you to still carry yourself in that manner where you're just going to self-sabotage and tear this person down. To me, it was just, it really altered my way of thinking about humans in general. Women, yes, but humans in general, as far as like, just because you're nice to someone, just because you go all out to love them hard does not that does not mean that they're going to do the same for you, to you. But it taught me a lot, and I'm very grateful for the experience. Let me tell you, in more ways than one, it really sparked the change in me to become better. So I can easily say, I'm pissed off or I'll never forgive her for that shit, but I'm very grateful that it happened, man. Like, it just opened my eyes to a whole lot of shit and powers that I did not know were within. So very grateful to her, very grateful to the situation, but even still, that was some fucked up shit. Who do you believe is responsible for contacting one another, parent or child? Parent. Without missing a beat, parent. And I say that because they didn't have us, we had them. I didn't have my parents had me. So, and this is and granted, it's situation pending for a lot of it, but end of it all, you want to leave it all on the table as a parent, because a child is always going to see you as their parent, regardless whether they're close with you, whether they're not close with you. The responsibility is going to lie upon you as the parent. Now, granted, for those parents that make attempt, and for whatever reason in adult life, you and your child are not the closest, still, it's still on you to be annoyingly reliable as a parent. Something I've learned from watching The School of Life, something I've learned from the actual life, but being so fucking annoyingly reliable that our child can be upset with us for 6 months. 6 months and a day, they get into some form of issue, and they have no choice whether we're the last resort, first resort. They call upon us, and we're able to assist them, depending on what it is, though. You know what I'm saying? Life or death situation, yeah. But if you call in and asking for like a gang of money to go buy a fucking toy or something, and it's like, all right, that's up to that parent to decide whether or not they want to do that. I'm not going to speak on anyone else's behalf. But what we're talking about is actual necessities, life necessities. And I believe it's truly up to me, whether I do it or not. It's on me to make sure I maintain that contact with that child, because, like I said, they didn't ask to be here. It's on us. I mean, if that means calling and them not picking up, sending text messages and they don't get it, sending emails, fax, whatever, paging number, any of that, and they don't respond, it's not for us to make it about us. They're not seeing us as human, unfortunately, for the most part. Our kids tend to look at us as their parents regardless of how old we get. There's a level of respect that will come just from being the parent. Now, granted, it might not be all sunshine and rainbows, but it's like, no, that's my mom, that's my dad. And even when they're like super pissed off, the reason why they're super pissed off at you is because of the expectation they have of you being mom and dad to them. And it's just understanding their wounded inner child is driving the car right now. And they have expectations of you, as we've had expectations of our parents, but our expectations may not match our parents' abilities at the time. And that's something that I don't know if we've all thought about or remembered, that our parents are human. And don't get me wrong, effort goes a long fucking way. It really does. Well, regardless if it's your parents, your co-workers, friends, people you date, people you're in a relationship with, people you're married to. Effort goes a long fucking way. But it is, I truly believe it's up to me. It's up to me to ensure that I do my part. You're only responsible for your half of every relationship, but as far as the parent goes, it's gotta be, we must create consistency. And I know what that feels like to not have that consistency. And it does have an impact on your mental, for sure. Now, my parents are not responsible for any decision I've made in my life. Have they influenced it? Perhaps. But everything I've done is a choice. I made a choice. Me and my brother grew up in the same house. We made different choices when we left. We don't have the same, like, we're not raised the same way, because one's older, one's younger. So we're having two different parenting styles. For one that is the oldest child and one is the youngest child. They don't have the same, I don't believe they have the same parents. And because they've evolved, they've changed. Being dealing with the first child, you tend to be a little bit more effective with the children after that versus the first one, because you've never done this before. And it's understanding that being, the oldest, you're the guinea pig. You're the fucking guinea pig. And everyone's just trying to figure this shit out. You just come into the world and this instruction manual, granted they got baby books and all that stuff, but you still gotta put the shit together. So as a parent, ensuring that we pay attention to how our child is and what they respond to, what they don't respond to, and then trying to just meet them in the most effective way that we can, and remembering to not make anything they do or say about us. They're just going through the motions, and it's tough because when a child does something, you want to make it about you, but it's not. And when anyone does something, you want to make it about you because you want, I think selfishly, we want to know that we're like superheroes to our kids, you know what I mean? And selfishly, they want their parents to be superheroes to them. But what both sides will learn as you get older is that you die the hero or you live long enough to become the fucking villain. And in the sense of you make mistakes. And when you learn that you make mistakes, it's tough trying to go against this idea that you had of your child, your parent, whatever. But remembering that they're human and not having to put them on a pedestal, no one. Removing all pedestals and just remembering to be human and having grace for where they are. Having grace where your parents, were in their life. They did the best they could with what they had. Having grace towards your child who's doing the best they can where they are in life. Challenge. It's just a mental challenge. And yeah, it's nice. When you're young, you're a young parent like I was, it's nice to know that your kid was looking at you a certain way. but you have no control over how she sees that from her own mind. That's her own perception of you, or your son, or perception of you. Our kids don't realize the stress that goes on, that we encounter from a work standpoint. I mean, when we come home from work, all they care about is the relationship that you have with them. They don't give a fuck about whatever issues you got going on with the bitch in the next cubicle, or what I'm saying, the dickhead of a boss. That shit don't mean anything to them. I mean, I didn't know anything about what my parents had going on at work. It didn't matter. What I wanted was, the relationship with them. And sometimes we can forget that. We can lose sight of that. And that's what makes us human. So it's remembering that our kids all they see is us, man. Like, the world, we might have been like picked on in high school, bullied, whatever. We might have been the coolest person in high school. Our kids don't give a shit about that. I mean, it's cool, like, if they learn, oh man, my dad was, the star of the basketball team or some shit. That shit don't mean nothing now. What matters is that what we're doing to kind of foster that relationship on a day-to-day basis, man. And like I said, it's easier said than done, but effort goes a long way, right? But when it comes to contacting one another, I truly do believe that it is on the parent, not the child, to kind of enforce that. However, when a parent has, shown that they, have been trying to contact you, and they tried to contact you, but you're not you don't respond to it. Number one, for that parent to remain an adult and not a child, and throw a tantrum because you didn't get what you want, which was a response, unconditional love towards our children. But at the same time, being very mindful of what you're doing, because kids are human, and some humans can be manipulators. They can be manipulators, especially when they're young. They're just trying to, the focus right now is on them. And that's it. When they came in the world, they became the world. In a healthy situation, the child is the world. So they're used to that. But as they get older, and with our help, we show them that they're just as human as everybody else. It's a gradual thing, though. But if you've never done that, they're going to believe that the world is just solely around them. And a lot of us grow up to become that and think that it's all about them. You think it's all about you, and nothing anyone does is about you. What I was getting to was that with the kid that you've tried to make contact with, if doing the same thing expecting a different result is insanity. So just doing the best you can. Sometimes giving the child some space. This is what they'd be asking for, but they may not know how to communicate that. But you just make sure that you're available. Be annoyingly reliable and available to your kid when they need you for life necessities. Not necessarily life wants, but life necessities. So that's essentially my thoughts on who needs to contact who, parent and child. Maybe you agree, maybe you disagree. But either way, it creates the conversation, sparks the mind amongst you and whoever else you share the conversation with. But that's it. I'm out. Good night, kids.